Thanksgiving stuffing. An Aural satisfaction short. Marcus adjusted his tie nervously as he entered Pete and Michelle's Thanksgiving party. The air buzzed with chatter and laughter as people mingled, sharing stories and enjoying the festive atmosphere. Pete, who threw this gathering with his wife Michelle, had invited Marcus from work, knowing that Marcus lived alone and had no plans this year. Unfortunately for Marcus, he didn't really know anyone else here at the party, so he scanned the room, feeling a bit out of place, until he locked eyes with someone who seemed equally alone and uneasy. Sara stood near the fireplace, a polite smile on her face as she listened to a conversation that seemed to be less than interesting. Marcus couldn't help but be drawn to her, sensing a shared sense of discomfort in the sea of unfamiliar faces. He decided to take a chance and approached her. "Hey there," Marcus greeted with a warm smile, breaking through the awkwardness. "You look about as out of place here as I do." Sara returned a smile of her own, almost grateful that Marcus had approached her and saved her from listening to another minute of the conversation she was on the periphery of. "How could you tell?" she said. "I work with Michelle, and she invited me here because I didn't have anywhere else to go, and I feel like a fish out of water." This piqued Marcus's interest. "Is that right? Well, Pete invited me here for the same reason, and I figured I'd come because, free food." They both laughed at Marcus's joke, and he saw a slight sparkle in Sarah's eyes. Dinner was yet to be served for the crowd of 15 or so the two of them had nothing but time to kill. The two exchanged pleasant small talk, finding common ground in their shared nervousness about large social gatherings. Marcus couldn't help but notice the twinkle in Sarah's eyes, and he felt a magnetic pull toward her. It was clear that she felt the connection, too. His eyes kept drifting to her lips, moistened by the wine she was drinking, and her full, curvy figure. Sara felt her own eyes drifting down to Marcus's broad chest and shoulders, powerful hands, and rather snug jeans that hugged his muscular thighs and the obvious outline of his endowment. "So you didn't come with anyone here?" she asked, slightly self-conscious about her choice of words. No, I'm single. What about you?" "Yeah, me too. I figured it would be nice to get out and mingle and have a little turkey." "Right," Marcus laughed. "Gobble, gobble." They both chuckled, and the joke introduced a bit of awkward silence between the two of them. Sarah's eyes drifted down to his jeans again, then quickly back up to his face. Marcus smiled and said, I have a hunch that there are plenty of delicious things to eat here." Sara took a sip of her wine and allowed her eyes to meet Marcus's again. "Yeah, I see that. I'm sure there are." Something sparked behind both of their eyes simultaneously, but they were interrupted by a loud voice. It was Pete, the owner of the home and host of the party, who came rushing out of the kitchen and said, "Hey guys, can somebody go upstairs and grab the yellow tablecloth that's in the spare bedroom? I think we're going to have to swap it onto the other table." Sara instantly volunteered herself as a means to occupy her time while she waited for the food to be served. "I'll take care of it," she said. "Just point me in the right direction." Not one to miss out on the opportunity of demonstrating he was a gentleman, Marcus also offered to help. "I'll help you out if you don't mind," he said. Sara responded with a simple, "Yeah, sure," as she attempted to hide the smile that was beginning to curl the corner of her lips. Pete responded to them both with, "Great, guys. Just head up the stairs, make a right, and then head down the hall. It's the first room on the left. There's a lot of crap in there, so just yell if you can't find it." Sara and Marcus nodded and headed up the stairs. Marcus took the lead, and Sara was able to fully appreciate the way that he filled out his jeans on the way up the stairs. She felt a rush of heat flow through her belly, but dismissed it as merely the effects of the cheap, sweet wine she was drinking just moments earlier. "I think it's this room right here," Marcus said, as he turned the doorknob, went into a room, and turned on the light. The room was cluttered with all manner of boxes and items, definitely used more for storage than for living space. "Let's see if we can find this tablecloth. He said it was yellow," Sara offered, and Marcus nodded. She walked into the room after him and began looking around. She looked behind the door and swung it closed and shut it just to make sure she could see everything. Marcus began peering around some boxes and said, "What, are you trying to shut me in here with you?" Sara responded with a giggle and said, "Why, are you afraid of me?" "Not at all. I just didn't want you to be uncomfortable in here with me." Sara gave Marcus an appraising look. "I'm not uncomfortable. You're the best thing that's happened at this party so far." "Is that right?" Marcus said, and took a step toward her. "So far." "Yep, and I thought it was going to be boring." "No, never that. I try to keep things interesting when I can." Marcus's eyes raked down her body, and as they came back up to her face, they met hers, something smoky and half-lidded burning in them. He took another step toward her, and could feel Sara lean in towards him. She looked at his lips, and hers parted slightly. There was a heavy moment that hung between the two of them, the electric magnetism between them drawing them ever closer still, until Marcus took the final step to close the distance, their bodies close enough to register each other's body heat, and the sense of soap, cologne, and fragrance that each wore. "I noticed you immediately when I first walked into the room," Marcus said, barely audible above the sound of their beating hearts. "I know," she returned. "And—" When his lips met hers, they tasted of wine and her, scenting electricity, tingling throughout Marcus's body.